Hello, welcome back to Mountain Gym Card Collectibles. Hope you're having a great week so far. So today I'm going over an X post that caught my attention. And, it's pretty simple. I'm sure maybe if you're out and about, in retail stores like Walmart or Target or elsewhere, you're starting to see, some retail product maybe stack up, which I have been noticing at my local Walmart. I mean, the Pokemon seems to be selling quite a bit. Same with the Yu-Gi-Oh! But for one reason or another, I've noticed that people just aren't really purchasing the Panini and Topps products like they would a few years ago. Okay, so this just came out, like it says, 17 hours ago, I guess, from the Trout Farm. Pretty simple X post. Trying to figure out if retail hobby nature is healing or if Fanatics is just printing to the moon. Okay. And I tend to believe they're both printing to the moon, to be honest. Both Panini and Fanatics. So let's take a closer look at this display at Target. All right, so we can kind of zoom in on some of these products. So what are we looking at? Well, we have a top roll here of 2025-2026 Topps Series 1 basketball, which for one reason or another just seems to be stacking up at my local Walmart where I live at. People don't seem to be, buying it. You can see the price on it, $6.99, for these packs. $12.99, for this little box. We have more boxes, going for, anywhere from $29.99 for the basketball. We have some holiday going for $24.99. Then we have, contenders, Optic, Score, Donruss, all $24.99, which I tend to believe is kind of pricey for what it is because, if you know sports cards, a lot of the stuff just doesn't have much value, And then we come down here and we see that price just wash, rinse, and repeat, $24.99. And to me, this is why this stuff is sitting, and not moving. I mean, people are catching on to the fact that these are low-end products for the most part, especially in retail. Phoenix, and we come down here, and we have some more basketball going for $12.99. Holiday Mega Box going for $29.99, which I don't know. I think people are getting burnt out on those Holiday Mega Boxes. Obviously, some Upper Deck hockey. People don't seem too excited about that. And we have some Mosaic football going for $34.99. We see this Topps, basketball box going for $34.99. Is there much value on this shelf if you tore into it, And honestly, I don't believe there really is. The Cooper Flag rookie has kind of struck out this year due to the Mavericks, just tanking. So if there isn't a lot of excitement for this product, well, you have to blame the producers. I mean, if they just want to shill out low-end products that really don't offer much to the consumer, that's their business. I've seen a ton of this Topps basketball, Series 1 ripped online. I'm not even interested in it. So it's not just me. So let's see what the general public has to say, or, the people who are commenting on X about this, Combo of both, but I also think we may have gotten smarter as a whole, dare I say it. Big cards of actual good players are still doing very well. The lower end shit is actually for the kids now. I'm happy to see it. For a long time, we complained that you couldn't go into a Target and buy a blaster of baseball. Now you can pretty much any day you want. I'm so glad the days of people waiting for the restock to grab everything are over. Pokemon's turn for that now, yeah. And that's just it, is Pokemon retail has value. And for one reason or another, Topps and Fanatics really can't seem to figure that out, of creating a retail product that offers value. And that's just because Pokemon, tends to be more fair to the customer overall, than picking favorites. You already know the answer to that question. Print City. And then Trout Farm replies, truth. Yeah, that's how these guys make their money. And they just keep printing and printing and printing and printing the low-end stuff out. I'm trying to figure out, if you opened everything in the picture, what's the most expensive card you'd pull? $25? Yeah. Good luck with that, when you go into retail products, they're always hyping up, oh, you can chase a parallel, and rarely do I see opportunities for autos, this and that. And, you get the parallel in the box. It's not even a rookie card, it's just a joke. They have to use that license while they still can. Yeah, and Panini really is. People are just burnt out on it, including myself. I sell a lot of Panini, football products. But, when I look at Panini overall, I have a lot of Panini basketball, football, baseball, most of what I sell for Panini happens to be football products. I don't know what it is about basketball. And you can create the most beautiful basketball cards out there from popular players. And for one reason or another, people just seem to be diving more into football and baseball. And of course, you got the big Michael Jordan. You have these big icons, in basketball. But overall, I feel like basketball cards tend to fall on their face. Targets in my area are filled constantly of sports cards. Never an empty shelf. For Pokemon, though, it's completely empty. Sports card bubble already popped. IMO. Yeah, it's hard to argue that. I still sell a lot of sports cards. That's the majority of what I sell are sports cards. But a lot of times I've noticed recently, some of my better sales happen to be, Pokemon cards. In fact, I'm going to have to stock up on Pokemon singles here within the next week or two, because I don't know what it is. The past few weeks, I've been selling quite a bit of my Pokemon stock to the point to where I have to restock it. Printing too much. We are in mega junk wax again. Yeah, and it's not as good as the, junk wax era of the late 80s, early 90s, because we're getting just so much unlicensed product out there that, years and years and years down the road, people more than likely will not really want to collect, unfortunately. That's just the nature of unlicensed product. When I saw packs at the gas station 2 years ago, I was torn between crap, here we go again, and sweet, here we go again, which I have not seen any, card packs at my local gas stations. I wish I would. I used to, back in the 80s and 90s, but I haven't seen that for years. Why buy 2 retail boxes and get $4 of value for $80? Yeah, you'll hit something rarely, but it's never worth it, yeah. Especially in retail. I don't know what it is about the retail, but, if you're going to do it, stick with the hobby. But I've ripped plenty of hobby, and I don't know. I am striking out. Retail, hobby, it doesn't matter. Printing like crazy with a million variants of the same card. It's a giant waste of time. Laugh out loud. And that's just it, is That's what they like to sell in retail are parallels. And it's just such a joke. I mean, it's just so overprinted. It's like, oh, goody, I get to have a parallel that's overprinted. Whoopee-doo. And that's the big selling point? Two things can be true at the same time. Also depends on what you mean by healing. If you mean there's less interest and more cards, that would seem correct. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot more interest for sports cards a few years ago. But this monopolization by, Topps and Fanatics as well as Panini has just really pushed people, out of sports cards into TCG, I'm not sure what it is about sports and the industry, but I almost feel like they need to overhaul the entire sports card industry to an extent so that you start to get more people going crazy over sports cards like Pokemon cards, I'm even going crazy over Pokemon cards. Why is that? Well, Charizards, Pikachus, whatever you want to talk about, they maintain an awesome image. They have awesome cards. It's not this, the guy's up early in the season. He's having a bad season. He's down. Nobody wants his card anymore. It is what it is. I mean, isn't at least half of this picture Panini and not Fanatics? Well, there's quite a bit of both when you dig into that photo, It's almost pretty close, 50-50, maybe a bit more Fanatics than Panini. But then again, I could say maybe a little bit more Panini than Fanatics because we saw that the top row is clearly, all basketball. That's Topps 2025-2026 Series 1 basketball product, I mean, all of it pretty much was, I mean, it's arguable. Retail hobby is healing. Brother, have you not gone to the store in the last 2 to 3 years? Laugh out loud. The shelves have been full or healed for almost 2 years plus now. Laugh out loud. Way behind, yeah. And the TCG just keeps flying out the gate. My city shelves are empty. What store is this? I'm not sure, maybe there are some places where you're getting more and more people diving into retail. And that could be because they don't have, like local hobby shops. If I ever, purchase anything locally, I'm going straight to the hobby shop. I have played games, enough with sports cards and retail. I mean, from the very first time I collected, in 1985, where was I going? I was buying retail at Kmart, But the thing is the retail in the 80s, I always felt was like a lot better than it currently is now. It really is. I mean, I was getting awesome hits in the 80s from retail. I didn't really feel like I had to buy hobby to get into those big hits. Only the Fanatics items I see in your picture are flagship basketball and holiday megas, both which are going to be largely overproduced by flagship Topps or like flagship Topps. They are. I mean, I see that basketball product at my local Walmart, and it just doesn't move, What is about basketball products that I talked about earlier about having to overhaul the entire sports card industry? Basketball is where you really need to start. I mean, I can just go through my sales, my online sales, and most of what I sell is football and baseball. Everything else just pales in comparison, whether it's basketball, car racing or auto racing cards, hockey, soccer. I could throw all those in about the same boat. I mean, I'll say that my hockey cards, have done worse than my basketball cards overall. But I just don't understand about basketball cards. I mean, I have awesome basketball cards from the 90s. Beautiful cards. Big names on them, And, I'm looking at these big names. And what am I doing? Well, it's another day. I'm selling another Kevin Smith football card, over those big names for the same price. And the card's not near as nice. I've noticed that with football is I'll sell a lot more football with, names that aren't near as big as, say, the big names of basketball, which is just crazy when you get into it. Depends where you live, because where I live definitely can't find Donruss or Mosaic on the shelves. I can't say that where I live. I mean, usually Donruss and Mosaic just sits on my shelves, at my local retail stores and collects dust. I mean, you might see it move here and there. But, for retail Donruss and Mosaic, I don't know, people just aren't very excited about it. Retail sports are trash. If it's not Mega or Hobby Box, you're wasting money. And I agree with that sentiment. I mean, if you're going to spend some money, spend it on the hobby. At least you'll have a better opportunity to get bigger hits. Yeah, I know they always like to put these kind of different parallels in the retail to, get people to purchase it, because that's what they always like to hype up. But, a lot of those, various parallels are overprinted like most all of retail, so be careful out there. Go check out Shields. They have boxes like 3 pillars high. I used to buy a lot of sports cards from Shields. A lot of times if you have a Shields in your area, they have better prices than you can get at Walmart or even Target. I might have to roll into Shields one of these days. I just... they're typically just pushing out, low-end retail, but they do have better prices if you have one. NFL Prism was good this year for me. I stick to Chrome, Bowman Tops, Mega Boxes, and Blasters retail for baseball. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to spend money on retail, I'd say don't even buy it. I'd say just buy a box of Pokemon and flip that box. It's sealed product. I've lived so many years, and retail, in the 80s was great. Retail now is just horrific. Printing to the moon, still expensive, still filled with crap. Yeah, I mean, and that overall is what you get from this post, is people are dissatisfied with retail card stock for sports. I won't keep going on. I mean, this just goes on, and people are very dissatisfied with both Topps, Fanatics, and Panini, when it comes to their retail products. I watched a video with Neo this morning, and, he's talking about how Topps wants to go to Dutch auctions on their website, which I don't agree with. But then again, I've never been able to purchase anything, off the Topps Fanatics website. And I've tried, and everything fails. It's not just me. I can do an episode where we just go over posts on X where people are saying the same things, where they try, and they just keep getting turned down. And to me, that's really one of the biggest downfalls of, sports cards right now is the way that Topps Fanatics is pushing people to try and buy product off their website, and more people are striking out than are getting what they want, And so Michael Rubin is always pushing, his big country club for his favorite people. But eventually that's going to break the hobby to where you're just going to have a bunch of people buying Pokemon, buying Yu-Gi-Oh!, buying One Piece, maybe Dragon Ball, whatever, including myself, because the value is there. And, if you had, let's just say we saw the number $24.99 and you went to a Walmart, you go to a Target, you go wherever you go, do not buy the retail sports products. I can't say it enough. Use that money and buy yourself a brand new box of Pokemon. And worse for worse, you can flip that box, for a little bit of a profit, or open the box, take out the hits, and sell the hits, and you're going to do better than more or less any sports retail product out there. So it's sad that it's become that way, but we're dealing with a billionaire's country club. How do you feel about retail? How do you feel about our current state of retail, I should say? But before I go, I'd like to thank my subscribers. You're the reason I keep doing these episodes. And I'd like to thank my viewers. And if you haven't subscribed as a viewer, it's 100% free. Hope you have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye.